Hello, welcome to Cook the Show. Today I will be teaching you how to make apple cider cake. So what you will need is 1 box of cake mix. If you don't want to make the whole cake, you just do half the recipe, which would be ½ cup of water and 1/4 cup of oil and 1½ eggs. So with the eggs, you need to crack it and pour it into a container and try not to get any eggshells in the egg, or else that won't be good. Then there's the second egg. You want to carefully pull the shell away so that way you can cut it in half. The other part of the egg, and then once you have the egg white out of it, then you can take the knife. If you don't want to use something super sharp like this, you can just use a normal knife that you would use during dinner or something. And then you can cut it in half. And if that doesn't work too well, just scoop a little bit out, scoop some of it out with the knife, and then put it into the dish. And if you don't want to have to throw away the rest, you can just pour the rest in. But I don't do that. I'm just doing 1½ eggs. And then you will need 1/2 cup of water. It's okay if you get a little over 1/2 cup. And then you need a mixing bowl. And then you pour the water in. And then you get the oil. Then you can pour the oil in once you have that. Then when you have that, you get the cider and you pour it into the bowl. And you can pour the egg in too. The eggs. And then what I'm gonna try to do is I'm going to cut the apple. Ow. It's not bleeding, so it's fine. Not yet, at least. Thank you. Yeah. And then when you cut it up into about 4 pieces, then you might want to, and then you'll want to cut all the seeds out. Because nobody wants apple seeds in there when they're eating apples or anything. You just want to do them. I don't want it to start bleeding in the middle of the recipe. So far it hasn't been going too well. Okay, so when you have your apples cut, so once you have your apple cut into the big pieces and you have all the seeds cut out, then you are gonna wanna juice it because you're not gonna be using the apple in the cake. You're gonna try to get the juice out of the apple. Then you stick it in something like that. If it won't work, then you'll just have to try to squeeze it. If that doesn't work, you can use 2 spoons or just 1, and you'll try to squish it. So if you can't juice it, then you can cut it up into little tiny pieces and then put it in your mixing bowl. And if you're okay with that taking a while, then it's one good way to pass the time. I don't think I'll cut all of them. How about I just cut the 2 small pieces that I already cut? So when you have cut all your apple slices that you want to, then you'll need your cinnamon. Or if you're good with measuring, you can just shake some in. And then you can take a whisk, or if you're using a mixer, then you can use that. But with a whisk, then you just start to stir it up. Then you'll start with getting 2 cups, or you might want to start with just getting 1 cup of cake mix. And then with that, you'll pour it into the measuring cup. And you'll want to get a spoon. You're gonna want to pack it down. And then you pour that cup in. You can scoop it in. Then you mix it. If you think it's too soupy, then you can put another cup of cake mix in. Then you can pour that in. With the cake pan, you need to get some non-stick cooking spray, and you need to spray the pan. Then you can spread the spray around. And then you also want to spray the sides. And when you're done with that, then you can pour the cake mix in. Then have it all out, like I almost do. Then you can stick it in the oven. And you bake it 350 degrees Fahrenheit in the oven. When it's done, insert a toothpick in the center. If it comes out clean, the cake is done. Cool 10 to 15 minutes before removing from pan. Cool cake completely. So now that I have that done, I can take it to the oven, 15 minutes. Unless you have the cake box with, and if you don't throw it away, it'll tell you how long to do it. Which, since it says 30, since I have about half of the size of the cake pan that it gave us, I'm gonna do about half the time, which is about 17 minutes. And then you wait. When it rings, and then poke it in. And if it's all gooey, then that means you have to put it back in for another 5 minutes. So I put it in about 4 or 5 more times. done, so now we have to let it cool. So you start to cut up your apple, then you kind of poke it in. So when you've got in as much apple pieces as you want, which I almost have, since it was cooling while you were doing that, you can wait for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then it should be done, and then ready to enjoy. So when it's done cooling, then you can cut it. Then you can put a few pieces on a plate. And if it starts to fall apart, it's not that big of a problem. Just try to get a piece that isn't falling apart as much. Then when you have a few pieces on a plate, then you can offer them to guests. Now it's nice to have at parties, like a birthday party or something, like a graduation party, something like that. Thanks for watching Cook the Show. I hope you enjoyed making apple cider cake.